Hey guys, good morning. Good morning. Hope everybody's doing well. And I know it's Saturday. I know it's early in the morning. So it's gonna be just a few minutes. I'm gonna let people come on in. And hey, Iron Woman, it's good to see you. I know I talked a good bit about Thanksgiving and being thankful a few days, I think Wednesday it was. Thursday, I did an actual live stream where I was doing a stream where I was we had our little picnic with my family, and then I happened to see a stream one night of where people were having the great debate about why turkey is now considered part of like the main course of Thanksgiving. And I will explain parts of it the best way that I can. And I will give you some more insight to what exactly was the main part of the Thanksgiving meal. I figure you guys would find this interesting. And I definitely will do what I can to explain it. There are some things that like we will never completely know, because that was a few hundred years ago, when we had our when America had, quote unquote, the first Thanksgiving. I did talk about the possibility that the first Thanksgiving was one of them. Sorry about that. One of the things that managed to be saved, guys, was the fact that hold on just a second, guys. I'm having issues with my Zoom for some reason. So give me just 1 second. Let me double check, because it's not loading up the way it should. But it is. This Thanksgiving that I'm going to be talking about, it actually lasted more than just a day. It was a span of over 3 days. Usually when they have a holiday or some kind of Thanksgiving festival back then, it would be multiple days. And quite truly, the fact that they had the feast, the thing is, a lot of times they also had during that time day. Let me see if this works now. Sorry about that. Hi, Marie. It's good to see you. My internet's been acting weird today, so I do apologize for that. So Zoom is not going to be quite up to par. It keeps bouncing in and out. And I'm not sure why. I may have to restart this. I don't know. I am connected to the internet. What is going on here? And sorry if I cannot see y'all's comments right away, because my internet is loading up and it's giving me some issues. But yeah, Thanksgiving was not just, it wasn't 3 days full of eating and all that stuff. Sometimes, and they truly believe this fasting actually was able to help them focus on being thankful and being closer to God or their higher power and whatnot. And during that time, there was basically famine. There was people that ended up starving. Half of the people that were on the Mayflower that made that trip to Plymouth to develop that colony ended up passing away, whether it was because they were starving or they ended up being sick and passing away. So the other half that was there, along with their governor of that colony, definitely had a lot of hardship. They ended up learning from the Native American tribes and allies that they made how to grow, how to basically farm, what foods were that were native to the area. They learned to harvest them. Not only that, they seen, different wildlife and whatnot, and were able to hunt and learn to hunt effectively. Before they started their Thanksgiving festival, I call it a festival because it lasted about, from what the records show, about 3 days. The governor had asked for a hunting party to basically go out and hunt for game, specifically wild fowl, which is any kind of bird. The particular types of birds that were in that area at the time, people talk about pheasants, ducks, geese. They also talked about one type of bird in particular, in the governor's diary during the autumn season, that was pretty populated in that area, was wild turkeys. Now, although the turkey was a part of the Thanksgiving meal, it wasn't the star of the show. It was not the star. What actually was the star of the Thanksgiving meals was what the Native American allies for the colony had brought with them. And what they brought was deer that they hunted for that festival. And ended up being about five, from what I read several places. There was about 5 deer that was brought by the Native American tribe, um, in peace and coming together, being thankful, showing their appreciation, the colony showing their appreciation for the Native Americans, uh, for helping them get through a very rough time of establishing their colony and learning to survive in that area. So, and unfortunately, guys, I cannot see the chat. It is not it is not popping up for me, nor is it letting me share. So please, if you're watching this, please share this out. Let people know that I am live. Okay, now it's finally trying to start up. Every time I do this, it tends to mess up. So give me just a second. So people often wonder if deer was actually the star of the meal. Why do we celebrate with a turkey rather than a why don't we celebrate with turkey rather than deer? That is a very good question. One that I found very interesting to me, I did talk about so yeah. I wonder myself, why is the turkey always the star of Thanksgiving? This particular type of turkey is native to Americas. There's actually 2 or 3 different types of turkey that are native to this to our areas. And I'm going to stop for a second and let you know turkeys are very aggressive, and yes, they can fly. Turkeys can actually fly. I have seen it before. They're more heftier than most birds, so they will fly a short distance. They cannot fly really, really high, but turkeys are very aggressive. I know this from experience because of where one time I had worked at ended up being surrounded by a wooded area. And I was taking care of people at the time. And where I was taking care of them at, like I said, was surrounded by a wooded area. Next thing I know, the person I was taking care of, we wanted to sit outside for a little bit. This little group of turkeys decided to come up in our yard. I'm sorry, my internet keeps going down, but I mean, what it's doing is it's kicking Zoom off. But the person I was taking care of ended up getting scared of the turkeys because they thought he was going to get attacked. Just to be safe, I had helped him inside the place, his little home that he was staying in at the time. And when I come back outside for a minute to check it out, this gaggle of turkeys decided they wanted to chase me. So I got chased. I was afraid of getting attacked. But I made a lot of noise, made kind of a big stink. I wish I could have filmed it. I did not. I wasn't thinking. And they kind of halfway flew away. Now, the difference between the wild turkeys we see and have between the difference between the wild turkeys we see versus the turkeys that are farmed. The turkeys that are farmed are bred and fed a certain kind of diet to fatten up and gain more meat. Wild turkeys usually don't weigh a whole heck of a lot. Some things say some of the turkeys can weigh 10 to 15 pounds, maybe. Some say up to 20 pounds. The turkeys we get nowadays are somewhat, a little bit fatter, a little bit meatier. What we see as turkeys that we make for Thanksgiving, their turkey breast, or it's thinner than what we see. In the wild, it's thinner than what we actually. Okay, this is getting annoying. I am so sorry, guys. I do apologize. I may have to reset the internet here in just a moment, but I do want to go into some detail of how we know that turkey is not necessarily, the main part of Thanksgiving, but when they talk about wildfowl, that was one of the main birds that they were able to hunt and gather for the Thanksgiving meal. But that wasn't the main thing that was served, and even that Thanksgiving, the guests had, people, as far as families getting together and being thankful, everybody brings just a little bit of something if they can to share with everybody else. And that was what happened with this quote unquote first Thanksgiving. There was a couple of Thanksgiving celebrations earlier than that has been recorded in U.S. history. But they did not dub the first Thanksgiving until Plymouth. And I do apologize for my internet being so weird. Trying to get it to come back up. And hello, John Goff. Hello, everybody that is in the chat. Thankful for you guys being here. You guys are awesome. Before anything happens, I'm going to go ahead and share this out. It is taking a little bit of time. Okay. Well, that's finally done. It is so good to see everybody. Thank you guys for being here. Even to my one lurker that does the thumbs down thing. I'm thankful for you being here as well, because without you, I wouldn't have the views that I have, the lurkers and everything. But anyway, now, like I was explaining earlier, you can go into a supermarket and get a pretty fat turkey. A lot, and those are actually turkeys for being farmed. They're not like the wild turkeys. Wild turkeys probably have more gamey taste than what we get from a farm. And these turkeys are native to America. The Americas, like the continents, there is different types all over the world, actually. And from what I understand, the reason why there's like turkeys in like Europe, from what I read, some turkeys were brought over in the 1500s to Europe. Some wild turkeys. He had bought some from a Native American tribe. Let's see if I could get it pulled up so I could give you the correct name of the person. But he was from Spain. He had brought him over into Spain, and it just kind of just brought about that as far as turkeys go. And that was actually one of the Europeans' favorite meats. It was turkey. They definitely had they definitely favor turkey themselves. And even let's see. Okay. The name of the governor of that colony at Plymouth was Governor William Bradford. We have documents and journal entries, diary, whatever you want to call it, I guess reports from even back then. This was one of two documents that ever survived this long, and they are in the Library of Congress. especially for safekeeping. Governor William Bradford had kept a journal, and the reason why we always assumed it was turkey that was served during Thanksgiving was because they hunted a good bit in that fall before the Thanksgiving, and they talked about wild turkeys. There is no record that actually exists of the first Thanksgiving's exact menu. Much of what scholars know about what and historians know about what happened at the first Thanksgiving comes from somebody that is a pilgrim chronicler. I guess they are the ones that try to piece everything together to be able to give you enough information as to what, the timing and whatnot. And this was a quote from quote from him, Edward Winslow, who was, I guess, writing a article about pilgrims. It says, our harvest being gotten in, our governor set 4 men on fowling, which means hunting wild birds, so that we might, after a special manner, rejoice together. After we gathered all the fruits of our labors, they 4 in one day killed as much fowl as with a little help beside, served the company almost a week, at which time, amongst other recreations, we exercised our arms. Arms mean basically weapons. Many of the Indians, or Native Americans, I'm going to say, coming amongst us and amongst the rest of their greatest king, Massasoit, was some 90 men, whom for 3 days we entertained and feasted. And they went out and killed 5 deer, which they brought to the plantation and bestowed on our governor and upon the captain and others. Although it being not always so plentiful, yet was at this time with us, yet by the goodness of God, we are so far from want that we often wish you partakers of our plenty. And it also says that historians have suggested many of the dishes were likely prepared using traditional Native American spices and cooking methods. The meal did not feature pies, cakes, or other desserts, which it now becomes, with us now, it's become a tradition to have all kinds of desserts and whatnot. So yeah, the main course, or the main star of the first Thanksgiving, was never turkey. It was actually the deer that was brought over by the Native American tribe that was the allies of the Pilgrims at the time. And people wonder, why do we celebrate with turkey instead of deer? One of the reasons might be there back in, let me double check my timing. Yeah, give me just a second, guys. I cannot see the chat at the moment. I'm trying to. Um, I did go through some of the history of. Okay. That was not what I was looking for, but okay. um, but basically, from what I gather, I'm gonna just kind of sum it up just a little bit. Uh, there was a okay, guys. I am back. I am sorry, my internet has been going weird. But around the time of Abraham Lincoln and the Civil War, and he had asked that the people basically help one another, help each other heal from the war, and to be thankful for um, each other, which was like he, in essence, declared it a national holiday. It official, and I believe that Franklin Roosevelt, the president, had ended up making making it as to when Thanksgiving was to be celebrated, and that was always going to be the last Thursday of November. And people had took it as, for years people took it as um the turkey was the main course, which is really not the case. But they took it from um a novel called Northwood, A Tale of New England. Author Sarah Jessica Hale actually described her ideal version of a traditional Thanksgiving dinner. Um, and people kind of took with it and ran with it. And this was in 1827, around the same time that Abraham Lincoln basically declared Thanksgiving a national holiday. Um, she wrote in the book, the roasted turkey took precedence on this occasion, talking about Thanksgiving being placed at the head of the table, and well did it become its lordly station. And then um, another traditional, quote unquote, traditional image of a Thanksgiving feast actually also took root in 1889, with the American author Jane Austen wrote a fictional account of that Thanksgiving in 1621, their feast, in her book Standish of Standish, A Story of the Pilgrims, and it did talk about turkey again. But considering it was favorite meat for the Europeans. But as I'm reading this, it's just getting longer and longer. people that settled in California, they didn't have turkeys there. Not exactly sure what they did, but I'm sure they may do. And I don't understand why we don't eat deer as part of our Thanksgiving dinner rather than the bird. But because the turkey originated in America, or at least this particular occasion, that's why the turkey takes precedence during Thanksgiving, guys. So we've been kind of not given false information, because I truly believe that turkey was a part of the Thanksgiving, but it wasn't central to it. Deer was, or venison, whatever you want to call it. And it just, I don't know. I don't know what to think. I will tell you one thing they did not have. Well, several things they didn't have. They didn't have desserts for their first Thanksgiving meal. Didn't have enough sugar then. I mean, they brought sugar over from Britain, but they did not use the sugar because it, of course, you have a supply of something, you want to ration it off as best you can to make it last longer. They didn't have any desserts, or very, very few desserts, that were coming off of a famine at the time. Many people were, about half of the people that were initially going to Plymouth for the colony had already passed by this time. And because of the Native American tribe, they helped the colony survive. Hey, Lady Swan and Redneck Connection, it's good to see you guys. But yes, it was deer, not turkey. That was the main course for this Thanksgiving. I call it a festival. They did not have desserts, and they did not have potatoes or sweet potatoes during this meal. That's one thing that historians had explained in several things that I have read. The potato's not really native to America, and I don't even know if they brought enough to use for the meal, to survive off of, or to even grow them in America. So that is something that has definitely changed from then to now, is the fact that we have mashed potatoes or baked potatoes, sweet potato pies, and all kinds of stuff. So they didn't really have pies then. Another thing that they had was fish, cod and bass. They had a variety of corn called flint. They were harvested by the Native Americans, and it was eaten as like cornbread and porridge type of food. Because there's really no actual record of the actual meal. This is stuff that they read through on the journals, the reports. They Some of it was probably handed down from in the family, and somebody recorded it along the way. I mean, there's stuff people leave to the imagination. Some things that also would have been there was during that time would have been, as far as side dishes, it was peas, beans, squash, the flint corn, um, cabbage, carrots. Let's see. Oh, cranberries. You guys remember um, people saying, don't forget the cranberry sauce. Well, cranberries at the time may have, and I'm emphasizing may have, been incorporated um, to Native American dishes to add the tartness, but it would be another 50 years before um, someone wrote about cooking them with sugar as, to make a quote unquote sauce to eat with meat. And that's how we come up with cranberry sauce. There was nothing that was available to the colonists at Plymouth to make pies or make desserts. There was no apples or pecans, no pumpkins, nothing like that. So that is basically things that I learned during my little research. I did have it, but I wanted to do a separate Thanksgiving, talk about the turkey and all that, because it is interesting to find out certain just like certain parts of it. You wonder about the turkey, then you start wondering about all the sides, the fixings, what they use for the feast and all that good stuff. And just remember that this was like over a 3-day span, at least 3 days. And some of the time they didn't eat the entire time. There's times that they fasted and whatnot. And so, to me, it's very, very interesting to find that I would actually like Thanksgiving if it were a deer. Yes, Ken, that would be interesting. I've had deer before. I've had it cooked different ways, and so definitely a good, it would be an interesting twist to have a kind of traditional. They had the deer, they had fish, and they had bird. And hello, Yankee Cows, good to see you. Bread, yep. Anita, it's good to see you. Yes, I've been having issues with my internet, so I do apologize. I haven't really kept up with the chat. I just went ahead and wanted to bring up and talk about the different aspects of like turkey and versus what they actually had. And come to think of it, one year I would love to try out doing a Thanksgiving dinner with a lot more traditional things. Fried bread would have been eaten with deer, bear, and also ground berries, quail. Yeah, so it was any kind of bird, but they did talk. One of the reasons why they thought about turkey was because in these entries that the governor had written, he did talk about wild turkeys. And I do want to bring up something kind of interesting that I found when it comes to turkeys. You know that little red thing that is on a lot of turkeys? It's on their neck. It's always kind of been a symbol with turkeys. You know that little fleshy, bumpy skin, and it's like that it hangs from their birds' necks. It's actually called the wattle. There's also a piece on a turkey. There's a piece of flesh that grows down from a bird's forehead, and that's called a snood. The fleshy, there's a lot of times there's bumps on that fleshy part of a turkey and around its head and neck, and it's called caruncles. Interesting. Wattles are useful to attract mates. Toms can attract hens. Toms are the male turkeys. The hens are the female. But it also helps the turkey release heat because turkeys don't sweat, as do most animals don't. And the turkey's feathers cause the turkeys to get heated up quick, and they absorb a lot of heat from the sun. That wattle helps release some of that heat for the turkey. And it can also, people wonder why it changes different colors. Little fun facts here. Blood flow into the wattle will affect its color. When it's scared or threatened, blood retracts from it, making it appear blue. And if a turkey is sick, the wattle and the snood will be very pale or almost white. Figured you guys would love those little interesting facts about turkeys. But yes, there is a lot of information I talked about in here. And yes, I had a lot of issues getting to the chat, so I do apologize. And it kept resetting on me in the beginning. But used in mating dance. Well, both females and males have that, and they will use it. Toms will use it to attract hens. But it does help release heat. It does help kind of give you an indicator. If that is pale or a white in color, it means that the turkey is sick. So you can kind of get an idea as to which ones are quite healthy versus which ones maybe to avoid when you're hunting. But those things can get me. I swear, I remember one year I got chased by a group of turkeys. They can fly. Turkeys can fly. They can't fly very far or very high, but they can fly. I know this from experience because I got chased by some. It's kind of like chickens. Chickens can't fly, or at least not fly far. They more or less glide like turkeys can. But wild turkeys are very, very beautiful. Um, but they are very aggressive. And I guess it was around the mating season when they decided to come out in the whole group of them. So that is the turkey. Basically, we have a high probability turkey was a part of Thanksgiving, but it was not the main thing. We basically got our image of Thanksgiving dinner sort of from these authors that described what their idea of Thanksgiving would be. I figure it's pretty interesting stuff, and it took from 1621 until about 1800s before it changed from the original version of what would have been part of the Thanksgiving feast to what we see today. Now, a couple things. The facts that you may have not known. In America, the White House, the president ends up pardoning one turkey, maybe two, in as part of a tradition for the United States. They pardon a turkey, which means that they cannot be killed and eaten, and they're basically protected, and they get to live out the rest of their natural life, basically being lazy and being a turkey. They get to eat good and know that they're safe and have a home. They do get checked out by vets and all that good stuff, and kept as healthy and happy as possible. The very first time this tradition started was back in 1960 with John F. Kennedy. He ended up pardoning a turkey for Thanksgiving. And ever since then, each president has pardoned turkeys for each Thanksgiving, which I find kind of interesting. And also having parades is also another thing that had started. Is I know Macy's Day Thanksgiving Parade. It's almost been 100 years since that parade has been part of the tradition for the United States Thanksgiving. It kind of kicks. It's a day of resting, being thankful, and it also kicks into retail and being part of the Christmas time, Christmas spirit. And I just kind of wish that there was Christmas didn't fall so close to Thanksgiving and let Thanksgiving be its own holiday, but it's like a 2-for-1 getting ready for Christmas. So there you have it. There's all as much of the story as I could possibly gather. Hey, Cody Vlogs, it is good to see you, my nephew. Hope you're doing well. But yeah, I'm about to wrap up. So, what did you guys think about this? Like, I'm kind of glad that this was initially brought on. Somebody asked that question and they mentioned me and asked to ask me about it. And I'm kind of glad that I put off even doing this stream until I was able to sit down and talk to you guys about it. And I've had to say on Twitter before, because people don't believe what I said when it comes to these magic of and whatever holiday. I try to be as thorough as I can. I do a lot of research. I look at more than one source for the information that I get. So that way I know that I'm telling the right thing. But I want to thank each and every person here: Anita, Iron Woman, Cody, Kyle, and Ken from the Redneck Connection, Lady Swan, Amber, John Goff, and many others that have been lurking. I want to thank you guys for being here, and I greatly, greatly appreciate y'all. And I do want to say much love to you. I'm going to start doing Magic of Christmas again. This time I'm going to be adding more religious holidays from different religions. It's not going to be just Christmas as a whole. It'll be some more religions, like Jewish holidays are coming up. There is Hanukkah and whatnot and others. But thank you guys so much for being here. Much love to y'all. Always remember, guys, you never know what's out there till